Hey guys, welcome to the Legalproof and Launch Your Business podcast. I'm Latanya Moore, your host and Legalproof Maven. This is part 5 of our special series, CannaConversations. I love saying CannaConversations. I'm so excited about this industry. In this series, we're pulling back the curtain on the cannabis industry. We're showing you how to navigate and how you personally can benefit from this industry. In these episodes, we've discussed some general steps to starting your cannabis business. We've talked about that in detail. We've talked about the local laws. We talked about your business plan. We've talked about financing options. I'm just super excited about this topic, guys. It is such an emerging industry. It's flourishing. And guess what? The barrier to entry actually isn't as high as you may think. You just need the information. So today, I am going to focus in detail about the different business structures and the impact that these different structures can have on your legal cannabis industry. Now, which cannabis business legal entity would you choose? Are you going to choose the LLC? Are you going to choose the corporation? Are you going to choose a partnership? Are you going to choose a sole proprietorship? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what you're going to do. But as many of you know, I am a business legal advisor for legal cannabis business owners, right? And so just like any other business, there are different corporate business structures that you can employ and you can consider when you're thinking about what's the best structure for your business. Now, of course, each structure comes with its own advantages and disadvantages. So it's essential that you really understand the different structures, the differences between them, and you have to determine what's the best fit for your particular business. Now, of course, this will vary based on whether you're doing a retail, whether you're doing a consumption, adult use, recreational, whether you're doing a manufacturing facility, whether you're doing a dispensary. All of these things, all of these factors come into play when you're deciding on a business entity. I wanted to put that out there because you may hear something today that sounds really, really good, but it may not be the best fit for your particular cannabis venture, okay? Very important that you know that this is going to be surface information for you to consider. So here are some of the common corporate structures in the industries and their pros and cons. The sole proprietorship. Okay. The sole proprietorship is the simplest and it's the most common type of business structure in any industry, right? The structure it's suitable for like a smaller dispensary. You got a single owner. Some advantages could be that it's easy to set up, it's easy to manage. Of course, there's no separate tax return, no separate business taxes, no profit type of things, right? Like, there's nothing special, right? You go get your business license, you open it up. I personally do not know, and I'm not saying it's not, right? I just do not know anyone that has opened any type of legal cannabis business as a sole proprietor. Okay. Here's why, and this is across the board. There is unlimited personal liability. That means that you're responsible for everything and your personal assets are at risk, right? There's a very limited ability to raise capital. Remember, we talked in our other episodes on our other episode on funding about investor raises, right? But also, we also talked about when you're going to get any type of funding, you have to build confidence in the lender or the investor. A sole proprietorship just, quite frankly, honestly, just really doesn't do that, right? That's just, it just doesn't do that. But again, maybe the best, maybe the best structure for you, right? There are also, again, no legal protections for your personal assets. Let's look at a partnership. one step above a sole proprietorship, right? But it's a business structure where two or more individuals own and they actually manage the business. So it's you, it's your partners, you're the day-to-day operators of the business. Now, of course, you guys figure out in your partnership agreement what that looks like, who's going to do what. But in general, when you're thinking about your different business structures, these are things that you need to know. Now, it may be ideal for, let's just say if you have a dispensary and you're going to have multiple owners who, you guys are all in together, right? So you're sharing profits, you're sharing liabilities. So you guys may want to partner in the day to day. So this type of structure may be pretty good, right? Because look, again, like the sole proprietorship, it's easy to set up and manage, but at least you have some shared financial burden. It's not all on you. You are sharing business risks across the partnership. Again, these things should be outlined in your partnership agreement. You're going to also be sharing profits and you'll be sharing liabilities, right? But here's some disadvantages. Just like the sole proprietorship, there's unlimited personal liability. What if there's a disagreement between the partners? How are you going to resolve that and not put your dispensary, we're using that as an example, at risk, right? Just like with the sole proprietorship, there's a limited ability to raise capital. Investors just don't have as much confidence in partnerships that they do in other entities. Just like, again, with the sole proprietorship, there's really no legal protection for the personal assets of the partners. Something you really need to think about. So let's move on to the limited liability company, or as most know, the LLC, right? Now, this is a business structure that combines the flexibility of a partnership with the liability protection of the corporation. It is preferred among a lot of business startups. It's ideal, honestly, for something like a dispensary that you want to protect your personal assets, but you want to have management flexibility built into the structure. So, what are some advantages? Limited liability protection for your personal assets, flexible management structure, like we talked about. You get that pass through taxation. Okay, you get that pass through taxation. You also, it's easier. There's an ability to raise capital because, unlike the partnership and unlike the sole proprietorship, there's a different level of confidence now that investors can see because you've taken those next steps. So let's talk about some disadvantages, right? Look, it's more paperwork. There are more formalities, right, than the sole proprietorship and the partnership. This is just the truth. There's it's a less well-established legal framework in the cannabis industry. Typically, people make other choices, but again, it's still an option for those of you that are looking at getting into this on a smaller scale. There is a higher setup, and then got to think about the ongoing costs, right? And when we talk about that, that's in comparison to the partnership and the sole proprietorship, right? So let's talk about a corporation. A corporation is a separate legal entity. The corporation can own property, enter into contracts, it can sue, it can be sued in its own name. This structure is ideal if, we're just talking about dispensaries, but if you plan on, like, if you want to grow, if you want to potentially go public, if you want to attract large, let's say, accredited investors, that might be a better structure because, again, there's even more confidence in a corporation than even an LLC. So what's the advantages? Limited liability protection for personal assets. Absolutely. It increases your ability to raise funds through public and private stock offerings. Okay, awesome. There is a well-established legal framework. People in high-stake industries understand this. And again, they have more confidence in this type of industry. It's easier to attract investors. Now, Sounds great, right? But there are some disadvantages because there's even more paperwork, even more formalities, even than the LLC. Okay. It's more expensive to set up, it's more expensive to maintain. There's something called double taxation, which is basically the profits taxed at the corporate level, and then they're taxed again at the personal level when the dividends are distributed. Again, something to know, something to think about. But overall, right, choosing the right business structure for your legal cannabis business will depend on several factors, right? What are those? Kind of like the top ones, right? The number of owners. How many owners do you have? What, like, how much capital is required? What's the level of liability protection that you desire? Okay. Is it something that you really see like growing and you're going to need backers? So you want to make sure that you start off in a position where you can build confidence. Because of course, I'm recommending, and I think it is recommended across the board, that you do a consult, right, with your legal, you do a consult with your financial professional. You want to determine the most appropriate structure for this type of venture. I know for our company, anytime that we set up anything beyond an LLC, right? Anytime that we do that, it is required, and our clients know this, it is required that there is a CPA review, right? Or let me say this, an accountant's review, because some people are not CPAs, but they definitely are very well versed in this area. That is a requirement to work with us. It's just what it is. And so I think that it's very important that you understand that you want to make sure that your legal, you want to make sure that your financial life, your personal assets are protected. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you have the proper consultants in place. So I'm going to ask you this question again. Which legal entity would you choose? What's best for your situation? Right? That's really how you determine the answer. What's best for your situation? And if you're still not sure and you'd like to have a consultation to discuss your legal entity, your interest in starting a cannabis business, ooh, prophecy businesses, or if you're considering, guys, filing an application on your own and you just need some guidance and you need someone to work with you along the way. If you want to schedule a consultation, you can click the link in the description. You can also schedule a free consult at bit.ly/chat with Latanya. Make sure you let us know how you found us. And thank you so much for tuning in to the Legalproof and Launch Your Business podcast, CannaConversations series. You can join us live on Wednesdays at noon Central Standard Time. You can follow us on all platforms. You can follow us on LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn, but you can also follow the podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok at Legalproof Maven. There are links in the description. Listen, guys, I am your host, Latanya Moore, and I'm encouraging you to go on now and legal proof that business.